kind of keeps doing the wrong thing. He goes there, jumps the queue, gets booed by the people. I mean, he must be having such a miserable time.
No, I mean, he hasn't been away since, well, for virtually the whole last year, because obviously the Labour were preparing for the election.
Well, yeah, but he has been away though, hasn't he? Quite a lot.
Yeah, I mean, you said you don't want him to have a break. I mean, I'm the opposite. I do want him to have a break, and I think he deserves a break. Obviously, he hasn't had.
Well, we all deserve a break, to be honest.
Well, you think we all deserve a break from him.
Imagine waiting 3 hours for a holiday attraction, only to see a politician breeze past you to the front. That's exactly what happened to tourists in Madeira when Keir Starmer arrived for a toboggan ride. Before we move on, I'd like to ask you a small favor. If you appreciate this content, please take a second to like this video and subscribe to the channel. Over 98% of you watch the videos without subscribing. It costs you nothing, but it makes a huge difference to us. So, did you click the subscribe button? Great! Thank you so much. Now, to the video. As tempers flared and shouts of "get to the back" filled the air, Starmer's family holiday quickly turned into a PR nightmare. But what does this incident reveal about the gap between political elites and everyday citizens? Picture this: a sun-drenched day in Madeira.
The crappy ride in Madeira. I mean, it's not like he's getting a great kind of, he's not getting free Taylor Swift tickets or something, It's one of these, people are queuing up for a long time. It's probably not that great. Why is he even bothering?
I think this stuff about him jumping the queue, I'm sorry. I mean, every single world leader who ever goes on some sort of holiday has some form of VIP treatment. Obviously, security is always I've got no idea.
I mean, somebody did say...
It wouldn't be something I was in. Although I have seen some people saying, some people who've done it who I know have said, oh, no, it's great. I mean, didn't seem that great to me.
Yeah.
Tourists eagerly awaiting their turn on the famous toboggan ride. The queue snakes around the corner, filled with excited holidaymakers chatting and laughing. Little did they know, their patience was about to be put to the test. The scene at the toboggan ride is a microcosm of British holiday culture. Families stand in orderly lines, guidebooks in hand, discussing the thrill that awaits them at the end of their 3-hour wait. We arrived at around 10 a.m. and joined the queue like everyone else, one tourist recounts. The atmosphere was calm and orderly. People were polite, as Brits are known to be when queuing. But suddenly, the air shifts. A convoy of sleek cars pulls up, drawing curious glances from the waiting crowds. Out steps Keir Starmer, flanked by his family and a phalanx of security guards. The initial reaction is a mix of surprise and intrigue. Some crane their necks for a better look, while others mutter under their breath about the unexpected arrival of the Labour leader. The toboggan ride isn't just any tourist attraction. It's a cornerstone of Madeira's tourism industry.
So long as he managed to switch off for a week or so and have a bit of a...
But he's coming back to some more problems, isn't he? Because, I mean, I had a very long conversation about grooming gangs with John Rentoul, so I don't particularly want to retread that. Last time I saw something like that, I think it was in Gran Canaria, and at the end of it, there was a bloke trying to sell you a timeshare, and that's kind of how it works. But I mean, somebody said...
Pick it up a cheap timeshare, maybe.
Somebody said to me, but that is a problem for him, and Elon Musk is a problem for him, even though, not all of what Elon Musk says is obviously going to be, provable or true even. Only Keir Starmer would go somewhere for a tobogganing holiday and end up in Madeira, because tobogganing, generally speaking, is on snow, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, anyway, so long as I said.
A unique experience that draws visitors from around the world. For many, it's the highlight of their trip, a chance to hurtle down winding streets in a wicker basket. The question on everyone's minds: how will Starmer handle this delicate situation? The answer comes swiftly and leaves the crowd stunned. Without hesitation, Starmer and his entourage bypass the entire queue, heading straight to the front. Jaws drop as the politician, who's built his image on being a man of the people, brazenly ignores the hours-long wait endured by ordinary tourists. As Starmer takes his seat on the toboggan, the mood in the queue shifts dramatically. The once patient crowd begins to simmer with indignation. I understand he's in a unique position and has security concerns, one tourist admits, but it was still a tough pill to swallow. The cultural norm of queuing, so deeply ingrained in British society, has been shattered, and with it, the public's trust in their potential future leader. The incident raises uncomfortable questions about privilege and the disconnect between political elites and everyday citizens. As Starmer prepares to hurtle down the hill, he seems oblivious to the storm brewing behind him. But make no mistake, this holiday misstep could have far-reaching consequences for his political future. The air crackles with tension as the realization sets in. A politician has just jumped a 3-hour queue. Those closest to Starmer can't believe their eyes. Disbelief quickly turns to anger as they watch the Labour leader and his family settle into their toboggans, oblivious to the brewing storm behind them. News of Starmer's queue jumping spreads through the crowd like wildfire. What was once a jovial holiday atmosphere transforms into a cauldron of outrage. Tourists who had been patiently waiting for hours suddenly find themselves united in their frustration. It's a textbook example of how shared grievances can rapidly escalate group emotions. The psychology behind this crowd reaction is fascinating. Studies show that perceived injustice can lead to collective outrage, particularly in public settings like this. When individuals feel wronged by a figure of authority, it triggers strong emotional responses and can mobilize group behavior. In this case, Starmer's actions struck a nerve, tapping into deeper resentments about political elites and their perceived disconnect from ordinary citizens. This isn't the first time a public figure has faced backlash for perceived entitlement. Remember when celebrities were caught using handicap placards to score prime parking spots? Or when politicians were seen flouting COVID restrictions they themselves had imposed? Each incident provoked public fury, highlighting society's expectation for fairness and equality, especially from those in positions of power. As the tension builds, you can't help but wonder, what will be the tipping point for this increasingly volatile situation? Will Starmer realize his mistake and attempt to make amends? Or will he remain oblivious to the anger simmering behind him? The answer comes swiftly and unequivocally. As Starmer's toboggan begins to move, the dam breaks. Shouts of, "Get to the back of the queue!" echo through the air, followed by a barrage of angry accusations. "Who do you think you are?" one tourist yells. Another adds, "Is this what you mean by fairness, Mr. Starmer?" The abuse hurled at the Labour leader is a stark reminder of how quickly public opinion can turn. In a matter of minutes, Starmer's carefully crafted image as a man of the people lies in tatters, replaced by a portrait of privilege that leaves both British and international onlookers seething. As the echoes of angry voices fade and Starmer disappears down the hill, we're left to examine the wider implications of this incident. What does it reveal about the relationship between politicians and the public they serve? And how might this holiday misstep impact Starmer's political future? Keir Starmer's queue-jumping incident in Madeira goes far beyond a simple breach of British etiquette. It strikes at the heart of what we expect from our political leaders and exposes a deeper disconnect between the political elite and the average citizen. The concept of a social contract between politicians and the public suggests an unwritten agreement. Leaders should act in the public's interest and uphold values like fairness and equality. But Starmer's actions in Madeira seem to have torn that contract to shreds. This incident is particularly damaging because it shatters Starmer's carefully crafted image as a man of the people. He spent years trying to position himself as a down-to-earth leader who understands the struggles of ordinary Brits. But skipping a 3-hour queue that everyone else patiently endured, that's not exactly screaming man of the people, is it? It feeds right into the narrative that political elites are out of touch with reality, living in a bubble of privilege, while the rest of us play by the rules. In today's political landscape, authenticity is king. Voters are sick and tired of polished politicians who say one thing and do another. They crave leaders who practice what they preach, who live by the same standards they expect from others. Starmer's queue-jumping antics have exposed a glaring lack of authenticity, and that's a tough pill for many voters to swallow. But let's not kid ourselves, this isn't just about a toboggan ride, it's about trust, credibility, and the very foundations of democratic leadership. How can Starmer lecture about fairness and equality when he's happy to use his position to skip ahead of hard-working families on holiday? It's this kind of hypocrisy that breeds cynicism and apathy among voters. The big question now is, how will this incident impact Starmer's political future? Experts suggest the repercussions could be significant and long-lasting. It's not just Starmer's personal credibility on the line. This could damage the Labour Party's image as a whole. Voters who value fairness and accountability might think twice before supporting a party led by someone who seems to believe rules don't apply to him. As the dust settles in Madeira, the real storm is just beginning to brew back home in Britain. Starmer and his team will need to do some serious damage control if they hope to salvage his reputation and the party's chances in the next election. But one thing's for sure, this holiday mishap has given his political opponents plenty of ammunition. The toboggan ride might be over, but Starmer's political headache is just beginning. As news of Starmer's queue-jumping antics spread like wildfire, his team found themselves in full-blown crisis mode. Social media exploded with outrage, with hashtags like QJumperStarmer and MadeiraGate trending within hours. The British press, never one to miss a political scandal, pounced on the story with gleeful abandon. Front pages screamed about Starmer's holiday from hell and questioned whether he'd lost touch with ordinary voters. Starmer's office scrambled to contain the damage, issuing a statement that reeked of damage control. The Labour leader regrets any inconvenience caused, it read, carefully avoiding an outright apology. But for many, this half-hearted response only added fuel to the fire. Where was the accountability, the admission of wrongdoing? It seemed Starmer was more interested in saving face than acknowledging the hurt he'd caused. The reaction to the incident varied wildly across different demographics. Young voters, already skeptical of established politicians, saw it as further proof that the system was rigged in favor of the elite. Older Labour supporters found themselves torn between loyalty to the party and disappointment in their leader's actions. Meanwhile, Conservative voters gleefully seized on the incident as evidence of Labour's hypocrisy. Crisis management experts were quick to weigh in, and their verdict wasn't pretty. Starmer's team has made a classic mistake, one analyst noted. They're trying to minimize the incident instead of addressing the root cause of public anger. It's not just about queue jumping, it's about the perception of entitlement and disconnect from ordinary people. But will this holiday mishap have lasting consequences for Starmer and Labour? The early signs aren't encouraging. Poll data released in the wake of the incident showed a sharp drop in Starmer's approval ratings. One survey found that 62% of respondents felt the Labour leader was out of touch with ordinary people, up from 48% before the Madeira debacle. Perhaps most damning were the comments from disappointed voters. It felt incredibly unfair, and many of us couldn't help but feel let down, one tourist who witnessed the incident told reporters. This sentiment was echoed by others in the queue who expressed disappointment at the Prime Minister's actions. As we wrap up this toboggan tale gone wrong, it's clear that Starmer's Madeira misadventure has left him with more than just a souvenir. He's now got a mountain of public distrust to climb, and it remains to be seen whether he's got the political skills to make it to the top. Starmer's Madeira mishap isn't just about a politician skipping a queue. It's a stark reminder of how fragile political images are in our hyper-connected world. One wrong move and years of carefully crafted public perception can crumble faster than you can say toboggan. This incident forces us to confront some uncomfortable questions. Do we expect our leaders to be infallible demigods, or are we willing to accept they're human beings who sometimes make mistakes? And when they do mess up, do we want empty apologies or genuine accountability? As social media continues to amplify public reactions, political figures like Starmer must navigate a landscape where their actions are scrutinized in real time, making it essential for them to embody the values they promote. This incident could signal a shift in how political image management is approached in the future. The truth is, we're all complicit in this political theater. We demand authenticity from our leaders, but crucify them for the slightest misstep. Perhaps it's time we reassess our expectations and ask ourselves, what kind of leadership do we truly want, and what are we willing to forgive?